You're listening to the OMG hour.
Well, it's Friday. It means it's time for another show. And that show would be the OMG Hour. So welcome. I am Sean Evans, otherwise known as Zion Tain. Yeah, this show.
This show. All right. I'm Tico, Mr. Second Place. I thought you were talking about another show that we were missing because we were busy doing this. Well, but I'm glad it's this show.
I'm sure there's a lot of shows we're missing because we're doing this.
Yeah, that's true.
Your color, oh my gosh, your color just changed on your video. Wow, that's great camera you got there, Tico. We just spent 20 minutes trying to figure out Tico's camera because his color settings looked off, and the moment we start recording, it fixes itself.
It went from Old West to present day in 5 minutes. Just like that. We've been recording for a whole 1 minute, and your camera's fixed. That's all we needed to do 20 minutes ago. Just start recording. Yeah. I don't know. That's a weird thing. Now, hey, it looks much better now.
Okay. Welcome to modern day, Tico. You're
caught up.
You're no longer Old West sepia looking.
Yeah. By the end of this show, I'll be like nothing but like the Matrix code rolling down the screen.
Maybe you'll be Old West, or you'll be like old West, which is just black and white.
Yeah. Or New West.
I don't
know what that is.
But Cyberpunk. That's
there you go.
New West. There you go. You'll be futuristic. So anyway, I actually played a couple of new games this week I want to talk about just for a short time here. One of them is actually very cool, and it's interesting how both of these kind of have the same kind of theme around it, and you'll get what I'm talking about as I go through it. But the first one is called Beyond Blue, and this is quite literally like a diving simulator. Very laid back. You are a marine biologist. You're basically on a project where you're scanning the different species, and as you scan it, you get like real life details about these fish and this marine life as you scan them. And there's a story that goes on. So she's with a team. She's diving on her own, but she's with a team that are up on the surface, and she's always communicating back and forth. And the basic story is she's trying to follow this group of humpback whales and follow this one family. And you learn a lot about actual sea life. Like, this was developed... it was inspired, according to the beginning of the game, inspired by Planet Earth 2, like actual National Geographic, right? So it's very real. Everything looks fantastic, and of course you're swimming, so it's very 3D. Like you feel like you have full 360-degree motion. The controls are beautiful. Like, I felt like I didn't have to learn how to play this game. I jumped in and I immediately knew how to control this character. I didn't have to be told how to control it. It was that well done, All
right, quick question. This is controller or is this VR?
No, this is controller. This would be cool in VR.
Awesome in VR, though, wouldn't it?
Would be so awesome in VR. Absolutely would. So it's really cool. I mean, you play different days in this campaign, or in this I'm not sure what you want to call this, the study that you'd write. So between each dive, you go back up to your little pod, little boat that you're in, and there's different information around. But not only that, but there's not just information in the boat you can read about and learn about the marine life. There's actual videos, like actual documentary videos that you unlock through each chapter of this game. It is so cool because it's not just in-game documentary. It's an actual filmed documentary, right? You're going to see a little bit of it now on screen. And I find it so fascinating to play this game and then learn all about these things, about stuff I've never even known about deep sea life and diving, and like all these marine biologists and sort of like how they live their lives. It is so fascinating. There's some of these people that literally their life is in the ocean. And I would say this is I mean, it's a game per se because you're following along in a story. You're scanning all these different marine life. There's X number of each of these marine... Well, I don't know what that was, Tico.
That was my phone just made noise for no reason.
Apparently. Totally threw me off here.
Sorry. It's on silent, so I don't know why it would be doing that. But
so I don't even know what I was saying. My gosh, that really threw me off.
Marine biologist.
It's I find it more of a really laid back game. You know, like you're scanning all these lives. There's X number of each of these fish or marine life that you can scan. So part of the game is finding all of them. And, you know, if there might be like 20 sharks, you know, and so in the game there's 20 of them to scan somewhere throughout each of the chapters. And then of course there's the following the story. At one point in the game you actually had a choice of to investigate what seemed to be this strange noise coming from the deep that seemed to be like almost like illegal miners, or continue with the scientific study and just report them. So you had to actually choose, and I don't know, I chose one of them, but I don't know how that changes the story. So I feel, so far, you know, I've been playing this game a couple of hours now, and it's so laid back. But I don't know how that little piece changes the game to decide where I go with the story now that I've chosen that one particular path. You know, and whether or not do I play it again to get a different path, I have no idea. But it is so... What do you think, Andre? Like I said, it's laid back. There's no combat. You're literally just a diver scanning, like swimming with the fish. You know,
there's
and
no danger. You're not going to die. No. The shark's not going to swim out, and like there's no tension or anything like that.
There's no tension. It is just so laid back, so fascinating. So much so that Dorothy actually sat and watched me play for a good, 20, 30 minutes last night, because she's always been fascinated with marine life as well. She grew up in a diver's family. You know, her parents are divers. Her brother is a diving and a scuba diving instructor. You know, he's got every certificate imaginable as a diver. So, right, because that's part of his life, you know. Dorothy was diving when she was little. So she grew up in diving. So she's always fascinated with underwater stuff. I would love to learn how to dive. I'm not sure if I'm a little too old for it now, but it would be so fascinating. But this game is just that fascinating. I just love the slow pace, the swimming, and it's not too slow a pace. That's what I like. It's sort of like that perfect swimming, and it feels like you're swimming too. Anyway, yeah. It's fantastic. If you're looking for something a little bit laid back, really beautiful, if you're fascinated with marine life, you want to check this game out. It's called Beyond Blue. It's available now. It launched just under a month ago, I believe. And I was given a review code for this to review. So, yeah, I'm quite thrilled with this. I will definitely continue playing this because it's set up in very perfect, like, sort of 30-minute chapters. And you can just, if you want to just spend 30 minutes, you could spend 2 hours with it if you want. But yeah, I'm thoroughly enjoying Beyond Blue. Definitely check it out. And the reason why I said this kind of jives with my next game is because this is like a 3D, environment where you can move in all 360 degrees. Well, I've also been reviewing Iron Man VR on PSVR. And again, because you're Iron Man, you are literally flying in 360 degrees, right? It's the same kind of feeling, only this time, Tico, as you mentioned with Beyond Blue, Iron Man is VR. So, that feeling you get when you play something like Anthem? It's the Iron Man game you wanted all along. Well, now you are Iron Man, literally flying and using the repulse blasters, using your hands, because your hands are your only controls, using your hands to actually guide where you go in I'm going to call it space, but in the sky, really.
Yeah, in air.
Yeah, in the air, because Iron Man guides himself with his hands. Like the repulsor on his hands is what pushes him in the air. And so you actually have to do that. So if you want to move left, you actually turn your hands so that your body moves left. Turn your hands the other way and your body moves right. Or if you want to go up, you put your hands straight down so the repulsors are pushing you up. And you can do the same if you put your hands up in the air, it pushes you down. And then of course you got your repulsor blasts, and there's different abilities you get as you play through the game. But Iron Man VR it really does feel like you're Iron Man, and that freedom of movement. I was worried going into this game that it would be difficult to control, because with PSVR, as normal, you don't have thumbsticks, right? Everything has to be done with just the Move controllers with zero thumbsticks in order to move you in space. So here you're using your hands to move around in space, and then if you double click the thrusters, it actually sort of does a thrust move and moves you really, really fast in whatever direction you're moving. So you can use that like to dodge incoming blasts from the enemy, which I did poorly here. This video you're seeing right now is literally from Chapter 1. I didn't want to spoil any of the story, but I thought this kind of gave a really good show of what this game feels like to play. And as you watch me in the video approaching the airplane and flying up and around the airplane, that is actually me controlling it. It is that beautifully simple to control. Like, I literally felt like I was flying around this airplane in Chapter 1. And it was that easy to actually navigate. And that was my worry going in, that it wouldn't be easy to navigate. And it really, really is. It is absolutely fantastic. And then they throw in great little VR things where you actually have to grip something with your hands and move it out of the way or pull something off, you know. So it kind of takes the flight out of your hands, locks you into one location, and then you use your hands to do something, to grip something. So
how is the like the Marvel aspect of it? Like, is this tied to any particular Marvel storyline or anything like that? Is it an existing one, or was it written for just this? Does it feel like you are Iron Man, or does it feel like you're just a guy wearing a suit that has Iron Man's powers?
I don't quite understand the question. Like, you are Iron Man. It does feel like you're Iron Man. But
like as you're playing it, do you feel like you're part of the MCU?
The MCU.
With this?
It's hard to say. It may be more along the lines of this fits more in with the Square Enix Marvel, which isn't really MCU. I mean, it is sort of a standalone story, so it could fit into somewhere into the MCU. Like, I don't feel like it's out of place, if that's what you're saying.
Yeah, I've seen sometimes where they're like, where you're this person, and it feels like they're pigeonholing, like Iron Man into this story because they wanted to make an Iron Man game, but it could have just been any flying suited, No, this is definitely Iron Man. Okay. It's definitely Iron Man. The characters are all in it. Pepper Potts is in it. Your Malibu mansion is in it. There are sections in the game where you're actually walking through the Malibu mansion, and you get to look at all these things and learn a little bit more about Tony Stark, right? So there's nothing in this where I feel like I'm learning something brand new to me, because I do know Tony Stark from the movies. So it does feel like I'm just jumping into this world that you've kind of always wanted to be a part of. Does that make sense? Okay. Yeah. So yeah, it is. I don't feel like I'm jumping into something I don't understand. I feel like I'm jumping right into being Iron Man, and it feels great. I really wish you could. It's hard to describe the 3D aspects of VR. I say that every time because it really is. Having this environment feel like you're flying through the air or even around this plane in full 3D, like looking up and seeing this massive plane above your head as you expertly navigate around the plane feels so amazing. And and my fears were alleviated in how
how simple the controls are to navigate him in space. You know, it's so beautiful. So absolutely, if you're a Iron Man fan, if you have PSVR, you have to play this game. This is a must play for PSVR. Absolutely, you got to check it out. It's actually really good.
They've done one that actually fits well, and it doesn't feel like, gimmicky.
No, it doesn't feel gimmicky at all. Like, they're using PSVR to the fullest extent that PSVR allows, and I think they've done it well. I mean, there are limitations to PSVR, but they've done the best they can with that hardware, and it feels like you are Iron Man. It's absolutely fantastic. So definitely check that out. So yeah, I've been having fun with those two games. Still going through The Last of Us. Really quickly, Animal Crossing had a brand new update today, July 3rd. Now you can swim in the ocean, and there are new underwater sea creatures that you can catch and donate to the museum. So it's great how you feel like you've done a lot with Animal Crossing, only for them to add a whole bunch of new stuff for you to jump back in and enjoy the game even further. So yeah, I spent a good 2 hours this morning just diving and swimming around the entire island, and getting a whole bunch of new sea creatures to donate and learn about. It's really cool. So yeah, Animal Crossing, always adding new stuff, and it's great.
Yeah, I should probably try that.
You keep saying that.
I know.
And then you never do.
Maybe I will. Then I never do. What I did try, though, it's an early access of a game called Tainted Grail. Now, you're probably familiar with Tainted Grail.
Yes, they same developers that did Nemesis, the board game that I kickstarted.
And actually Tainted Grail board game as well.
Yes, a Tainted Grail board game as well, yes. So there's a Steam early access available now?
Yeah, of Tainted Grail, the board game, the video game. So the early access has there's a 3-hour campaign bit. There's going to be more of it added later, and then a sort of endless mode.
So what is Tainted Grail?
So it is now. I've never played the board game because it is one of those big box, very expensive Kickstarter only deals. Right. I think they are coming to retail, but it has not hit that yet. But it is set in a Arthurian. Is that Arthurian? That's the right word, right? Arthurian.
Arthurian, yes.
Setting. So you are, looking. Well, that's not distracting, Sean. You are looking for. That's the Tainted Grail is the Holy Grail. It has been tainted, and so there's these big giant in the board game. There's the big giant like pieces that go on the board, and it's sort of made out by tiles that go out, and it's. In the video game, it's isometric, sort of Diablo-esque world that you're in, and you're running around just doing missions, and it's very similar to Diablo. Run around, get a mission from this guy, go take care of it here. But your combat, when you hit the combat, is a card battle.
Oh,
so you have a deck of cards, and like you're up against an enemy, and you have a card that you have a certain amount of energy, very Hearthstone-y.
Okay.
And so you have 3 energy that you can play, and I have an attack here that does 10 to 12 damage, and it increases as you get better weapons and stuff like that. So your weapons and stuff you find and you get as rewards, you equip them, and it alters the output of your cards. You get better cards as you go through. It's in my opinion, it's just okay.
So it's based on a board game. But the game itself is still sort of, it's like you mentioned Diablo. It is Diablo-esque. Like you're not playing a board game in a video game. Like,
it is like they've taken what your imagination would make of the board game of this, that you're playing on, and then bring it out to a Diablo-esque environment. Okay. But it is still just the board game. You're going from this section to this section. In the board game, it would be tile to tile.
Okay.
In this, you're clicking over here to walk over to this area where this thing is. So it doesn't really. It really feels like they've just prettied up what the board would be,
and it still feels like a board game as you're playing.
It still feels very board game because the stuff's not walking around. Like when you hit a tile or an area where the enemy is, it jumps you into combat, and then you have that card-based combat, and it's turn-based. You have your set energy that you can play and block, and you have your base deck of cards, which improves as you go through the game, and you get more powerful.
I recently played a game that was essentially a video game version of a board game.
Yeah.
And I don't know how I feel about these. Like, there's a place for board games, obviously, at a table. And I don't know how I feel about playing a board game on screen. You know what I mean? Like, if you're going to put it as a video game, then make it a video game. Give me that movement and action. Don't just, like, I don't know how I feel. I'm not saying there's not a place for it. I just don't think I want to play a board game on television. I want to play a board game at the table, and I want my video games to be that movement and action, not just playing a board game on TV.
And that's what it is, because it feels like they've just really translated the same moves you would have done at the table, and they prettied it up a little bit and put a fancy wrapper on it, but it doesn't feel like much different from that. Now, again, I haven't played the board game, so I can't speak to exactly how the board game, plays.
Well, from the sounds of what you're describing, I'd say they've taken a direct translation of the game and made it a video version of a board game.
Now, this game, Tainted Grail, is a board game that has solo play and everything like that at a $400+ price tag. So to be able to get into that solo gameplay, that's the price of, if you're looking for it with the Kickstarter and all the all-ins and everything, it's $400 plus.
Wow.
So if you want to get into this game, for that, then, maybe this at, $30, $40 might be a good way for you to step in and play that environment without having to get,
True.
financially invested into it. Like you have Nemesis. They are making a Nemesis video game as well, which I'm guessing based off of this is going to be exactly what that will be.
And I guess, again, I don't know how I feel about these games. Like, I don't want to sit down in front of my computer to play a board game.
Some of them have good translations.
Unless, of course, the advantage is you can play with people remotely, like you and I did with Gloomhaven.
Right.
And
that's the next one that I've actually played, was Gloomhaven actually added a new mode to their early access called the Guildmaster mode. And that's a game that's also a board game that they've translated, and it translates fairly similarly to the board game, but that feels better as a I don't know, just the mechanics of it feel better, both as a board game. I think maybe it's because the board game of Gloomhaven has a lot of video game elements to it.
Well, yeah, I think the advantage, what I find with Gloomhaven in Steam, is it simplifies the game for the player, because the game takes care of all the setup. It takes care of everything you need to manually do, because Gloomhaven is such a huge, complicated game. Yeah. That the video game takes care of all that complexity for you.
And what they've added with the Guildmaster mode, so we've played, and it's basically generic dungeons,
Yes.
But what they've done is they've created a storyline. So there's the campaign that is going to be coming out with that later, but they've created, the Guildmaster is basically a director, and it creates a world where you have to go and you recruit your different heroes, and you choose which ones are going to go with you on different missions, and you level them up. But it creates a story mode to what we previously seen in it, and I actually quite like it, to be honest with you. It is nice to be able to get that, because it is bringing you along not a campaign, but it is bringing you along a story path. Right. And it's added achievements. It's added different moods. Like, hey, like, we need to go here and we need to do this, and so it's giving you a generic story, but more of a story than here's your mission, kill all these guys.
Right.
Sometimes it's going to we need you to get to this dungeon here, to get to this, to find this thing here, which is going to unlock my ability to buy health potions from the vendor. Right. Because he doesn't have a recipe for them, so I have to go and find the recipe by beating this dungeon.
Now, going back to your Tainted Grail, just a quick question about that. Is there multiplayer in the preview?
No, it is single player only in the preview. But I believe multiplayer is coming, though.
Well, I mean, what's the point of a board game if you don't have multiplayer, right?
Well, that's true. Yeah, if you don't add multiplayer,
like if you can't play with your friends on this board game, air quotes,
Yeah.
then why? You know, isn't that the whole point of a board game, is to get together with friends and play, you know, in real life?
I think so. And there's a lot of games that, you know, that we've been stuck inside for so long that you're like, man, I wish there was a way we could play this game, but you want the same experience. And like doing it on stuff like Tabletop Simulator, Tabletopia doesn't give you that same experience.
No,
and you want
sometimes the like Tabletop Simulator, they're so finicky to use that it takes away from the enjoyment of the game itself.
Yeah, and you really want to sit down at a table with these. Sometimes they do well, sometimes not so much. Tainted Grail, I think, needs some work. It is still in early access, so you know I'll continue to try that out as it progresses and as they make improvements to it. Gloomhaven, I'm liking what I'm seeing with the improvements. I think the story's not the actual campaign from the board game won't be in there until 2021 some point.
Yeah, it's definitely early access. Very, very early. And speaking about early, you discovered yesterday, that there's a Fallout TV show in the works at Amazon.
Yes.
From the creators of Westworld.
Right, and they did a fairly good job. I mean, I'm not caught up to it. I have no idea what they're doing now, but I really enjoyed the first couple of seasons of Westworld.
I thoroughly enjoyed season 1 because season 1, I'm not going to give away spoilers because if you haven't seen it yet, you owe it to yourself to watch season 1. Because season 1 has such an incredible, I don't know if I'd call it a twist, but the way the season comes together is such a mind blow. Like, it's just like, whoa, that was so awesome.
The storytelling. Yeah, storytelling was fantastic in season 1. And once they got past that, it's a lot more difficult to be like, and we've got some more secrets over here somewhere that we're going to try to pigeonhole in. Because
and season 2 I felt was so long and drawn out and really boring. And I actually hated the direction it went in season 2. Started season 3 and I only watched the first episode of season 3, and the problem is it was so long between season 2 and season 3 that I had no idea what was going on. Like I felt I felt really lost watching season 3 episode 1. I felt like, wait, I feel like what I'm remembering from season 2 doesn't fit what you're showing me in season 3.
Particularly because people died in season 2 and they were like whatever, the robots and whatnot, and then they're back in season 3. It's like, did they die? And then if you don't remember that they died, then the fact that they've showed back up is not like a huge wow factor for you.
Yeah, well, I'm only one episode into season 3, and what I found with Westworld is it got to the point where it did not make me want to keep watching. It was one of those shows where you get to the end of the episode and the episode felt so tedious that I had no desire to continue watching.
Yeah. I am hoping, though, Fallout does a better job of this. The nice thing about Fallout is they can tell a story from a brand new city, from a brand new vault, because that's what they've done with all of the games. Is like, hey, here's a brand new... It's never a continuation of like a previous one. Here's a brand new thing. Here's the people in this universe, and they can tell a brand new story. I hope that they're able to tell something fun with that.
But... I don't think the Fallout universe is an interesting universe to tell a story in.
It's a post-apocalyptic. They have robots that float and giant roaches and super mutants.
That's just it. Like what? But what's real? I don't know, man. Like I just don't find the Fallout universe interesting. Like I never looked at the Fallout universe and said, "Man, I'd love to see stories in that." You know, take a universe like Mass Effect or even Elder Scrolls or Dragon Age. Like, those are huge worlds that are ripe with storytelling. I don't feel like Fallout is. Fallout is literally just a dead world full of mutants.
It's more survival stories. It's almost like
The Walking Dead.
It's like The Walking Dead without the zombies, basically. So the fun stuff is it's a world that basically stopped in the 50s, right?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
You've got all of this, it's all of this stuff from the 50s where that's when the world really basically stopped,
and then you take that, like, and discovering these locations and stuff like that. You've got stuff like the Nuka World. I think that it's a fun environment to be able to tell a story in.
Well, do you think it's going to be a survivalist story like The Walking Dead? Do you think that's the kind of story it needs to be, or will be? Like, what do you think it's going to be?
My guess is that it is another vault opens up, and there is, either a single person or a group that, emerges from a vault that has, now just opened up and are seeing the world, touched by, a disaster for the first time. They've been living in this sort of utopian world, and they're...
What if it told the story of the vault instead?
Yeah, that I don't want to see. That's basically what Snowpiercer is.
Well,
the class system within the vault. I don't think that's as much fun as them, exploring and finding out, like, what happened to the people who didn't make it into a vault. What happened to the world? I find is a more entertaining, source. I really enjoy even zombie movies where they, like, they come across an area that we are familiar with that has now been overgrown and, run down, like that sort of thing. I find that really interesting.
So the only thing I hope this show has is some greenery. I hope the show isn't all... I
will have them put a tree in for you.
Thank you. And not a dead tree.
Yeah, I don't know. Just one tree. Be like Waterworld, he's got his little one tree in the boat. Well,
speaking of television shows and video games, and we talked about earlier about board games becoming video games, and is it really needed? IGN has this list of 49 video game IPs that are either going to be movies or television shows that are apparently in different forms of development. The question is, will they actually become? I'm going to go through this list super fast, just so you can get an idea of how many titles there are. Starting at the beginning. Monster Hunter, Rainbow Six Siege, or just Rainbow Six, Mortal Kombat, Tomb Raider 2, Uncharted, Minecraft the movie, Cyberpunk Edge Runners, Assassin's Creed 2, Borderlands, Call of Duty, Carmen Sandiego, Centipede, Contra, The Division, Duke Nukem, Fallout, Fatal Frame, Firewatch, Five Nights at Freddy's, Fruit Ninja, Gears of War, Half-Life, Halo, Heavy Rain, Just Cause, Just Dance, Kane and Lynch, The Last of Us, Mass Effect, Mega Man, Metal Gear Solid, Metro 2033, Missile Command, Monument Valley, Pokemon Detective Pikachu 2, Portal, Rabbids, Resident Evil, Rollercoaster Tycoon, Shinobi, Silent Hill, The Sims, Sleeping Dogs, Super Mario the Movie, Tetris, Watch Dogs, and Werewolves Within. Now, Tico, there are some awesome titles in here. For example, Mass Effect. I mean, we definitely need a series of movies or television show in the Mass Effect universe. I think it would make fantastic sci-fi. But then there's other titles in here, like Just Dance. Why?
Yeah, I don't know how that... So, now, when they say TV, I'm assuming that they could make a game show out of some of these as well. So maybe that might work as a game show, but I can't, like, if you're going to tell me, like, hey, we're making a movie or
it says a television... here that Screen Gems will develop a film version of Ubisoft's annual video game somehow. So I see this as, like, is Just Dance going to be more like a Step It Up movie? Like, is it going to be a dance competition movie? Is that, like, what? Have we not had enough of those?
I haven't played enough Just Dance to really know, but are there characters? Are there people from, like, are there, like, is there, like,
I don't think
mascot?
So.
Is there...
And here's another one. Heavy Rain. I mean, Heavy Rain was already a movie game.
Yeah, like that was the whole. Just they'll take the script and they'll just do it as a movie, like, with you can watch the movie without all the uncanny valley of that kid's creepy dead eyes.
Yeah, I don't know. A lot of these, of course, are things that were announced years ago, and we've heard they haven't been canceled, but we've heard nothing since. Like, for example, Fruit Ninja was announced in 2016. It was going to be a live-action family comedy. About Fruit Ninja?
Again, game show, but not... You know, like, they just made the Floor is Lava into a game show.
Oh, I know. Apparently it's terrible.
So if that could be a game... Like, Fruit Ninja, if that was a game show and you put, like, uncoordinated people with ninja weapons and hucked fruit at them, I would watch that as a game show.
How about Call of Duty? Is that a game that needs a movie?
That's generic War the movie.
Exactly. Like,
I know that each Call of Duty has its own individual storyline and blah, 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 and they're all well acted and, you know, like, they're engaging and stuff like that. But, like, how is that any different from any other war movie that's out there? You could just, like...
That's my point, exactly.
You know, what was the one that they just did with Hemsworth? Extraction. That could have been Call of Duty, Extraction.
Exactly.
Hemsworth.
No, you're right. Absolutely.
Like, it's just a generic thing. It's just like, we're going to capitalize on the...
And how about Minecraft, the movie? Why do we need a movie based on Minecraft?
Well, because they did one with Angry Birds, and they did, you know, it's a kids thing. It's basically going to be a kids thing, and I guess if they don't have to polish the pixels so much, it makes it way cheaper for them to make. Who knows? So
here's the titles that I'm actually excited for and hoping they actually make the light of day. Mortal Kombat. I think, you know, the original Mortal Kombat movie was fantastic. The sequel, not so much.
All right, listen, I'm going to stop you. The original Mortal Kombat movie was horrible, but we loved it.
I'm saying I loved it. I did love it.
Yeah.
You know,
you said it was fantastic.
I think it was. I thought it was, you know, for the day, for the time it was made, that was a great video game movie. You know, when you compare that to stuff like the Super Mario movie that was garbage, you know, Mortal Kombat was well done. It does not stand up to the test of time.
No, but have you seen the Mortal Kombat? I think it was called Mortal Kombat Legacy. It was a webisode series.
Yes,
that was done as a proof of concept
by Kevin Tancherone. Yes, I saw that.
That is what I want out of the new movie,
and that's what I'm hoping this is.
Yeah,
you know, because that was supposed to be a proof of concept to greenlight an actual movie, and it was so. I agree that what we saw a few years ago with the webisodes was far superior than the original Mortal Kombat. But the original Mortal Kombat movie was so fun. Like, I watched it over and over again, and the music in it was iconic, or is iconic.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm hopeful for a good Mortal Kombat film, because it's a fighter film, you know, with great characters, you know, and it's really cool seeing like characters like Sub-Zero and Scorpion in real life. Like, it's just, there's something incredible seeing those characters come to life.
Yeah.
Tomb Raider 2. Listen, I know the movie didn't do well, but I enjoyed the Tomb Raider movie from a couple years ago with Alicia something.
I can't pronounce her name either.
Right.
Something. I can't pronounce, but yes, I know who you're talking about.
I thought it was great. I had fun with it. It wasn't perfect, but I'm happy if they're going to go ahead with the second one. You know,
yeah.
I think that'd be great. Oh, Alicia Vikander. That's her name.
That's it.
Uncharted, sure. I mean, it's essentially a Tomb Raider. I've always said Uncharted and Tomb Raider go hand in hand.
Yeah, I think they missed out when Nathan Fillion was really wanting to be the lead.
Did you see the web short that Nathan Fillion did for Uncharted?
Yeah,
it was fantastic.
Yeah, so I think they missed out in that in casting him there. Obviously, they're going much younger with Tom Holland in the lead role.
I don't know how I feel about Tom Holland as Nathan Drake.
I mean, a young Nathan Drake, and they're setting themselves up for sequels because he's young enough that they can lock him in for 3 movies, whereas Nathan Fillion is like our age.
Yeah,
and you know,
well, maybe
as fun with.
Here's what they do: they get Nathan Fillion to play an older Nathan Drake telling an early story, and it flips over to Tom Holland.
Or they sign Nathan Fillion now for the 3rd movie. And you just you progressively he does the first one, then you put Tom Holland in some old age makeup for the second one, and then Nathan Fillion is the character in the 3rd movie.
And
I don't know.
That would be fun.
I think it would be fun to have Nathan Fillion. I keep wanting to say Drake because his name's Nathan Drake. Nathan Fillion sitting down with his children, recounting old stories, and his story is Tom Holland.
Yeah, that would be almost like the beginning of the Indiana Jones with River Phoenix as a young Indiana Jones.
Yes. Yeah. Anyway,
like how they did that.
Borderlands. I don't know how they're going to do it, but yeah, that'd be fun as long as it keeps that same look and feel as the game, but without being a cartoon.
Yeah, I would love to see that sort of live action cel shaded combination that you've seen like when they've done stuff like Sin City and stuff like that. I would love to see that look in a Borderlands movie.
Well, you've seen the cosplay, right?
Yes.
Imagine taking the cosplay look into a live action film.
Yeah, that's what I would like to see.
That would be fantastic.
That sort of the shading and all of that, it would look fantastic.
Let's see what other two. The Division. I think The Division works as a film. Absolutely,
it works. Yeah, it works. I mean, it's a story. It's a story very close to home right now, but it's a story that that I think would do well in the big screen.
Gears of War, I think, would work, but you need good casting for this to make it feel because you've got that big. You've got to have that big muscular look for it to feel like Gears of War. Right.
Yeah, and Dave Bautista has said that he wants to play the lead role. Dave Bautista obviously is Drax from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Now, do you think he'd be a good Marcus Phoenix, though? I guess you got to give him a full-on beard. He's got to have that big beard and stuff for. Marcus didn't have a beard at the beginning of the game, though, did he? Or has he always had a beard? I can't remember.
No beard in the beginning.
Okay. Anyway, Halo. Sure, again, Halo is like this massive world, like Mass Effect. There's a lot of stories you could tell in the Halo world. It doesn't have to be Master Chief to be Halo. And they've proved that because there were like little mini movies they've done without Master Chief, and they worked.
Right. Yeah, and they've also done there was a proof of concept one that was done by the gentleman who did District 9. He used that as sort of his audition tape.
That's where District 9 came from, actually.
Yeah.
They had started filming a Halo film, and then it got canceled, so he took all his props and his sets and basically rewrote his film, and he removed all the Halo stuff and made District 9. That's why if you watch District 9... and you look at some of the weapons, they very much look like Halo weapons.
Oh, yeah.
Because he basically rejigged his film after the film got canceled and made District 9 from it. Neil Blomkamp, I think his name is.
Yes. Yeah.
The Last of Us, sure. Although I'm not sure if I want The Last of Us to be Ellie and... I don't want it to be Ellie's story. I want it to be another story in that world.
And I think that's one of those things, and we've seen that with Walking Dead, where you can tell another story in those universes and have them be successful.
Exactly. There's a lot of story to tell in the Last of Us world that I think would work. But again, the Last of Us is very much like a Walking Dead. So how do you distinguish yourself from the Walking Dead?
And not just be another Walking Dead clone.
Right, because it's very similar. Like there's creatures that are mutated, but that's no different than just being a zombie, Yeah. And it's bands of people, surviving in these enclaves and, having to go out and clear the area, very much like a Walking Dead,
Yeah.
So I don't know how you can distinguish The Last of Us from The Walking Dead as a TV series. Definitely Mass Effect. I think Mass Effect would I think Mass Effect would be great as a trilogy of films, though I think they could definitely do a TV series out of this.
They could, just given, I think with something like Mass Effect, instead of saying, hey, you're going to have a TV series and you keep going until we cancel you, I think it's one of those limited series, like, hey, you have 3 seasons, tell your story, 10 episodes per season, it's going to be on Netflix,
and make it epic. And make it epic.
Make it epic, here's a good budget, and they don't have to worry about, getting canceled at the end of season 2
right,
without finishing a story. I think that's one of those ones particularly that needs a direction before they move on with it.
Now here's a questionable one. So they're talking about a reboot of Resident Evil. I mean, we already had 6 Resident Evil films. Why do we need more? Why do we need more? I don't know if we need another Resident Evil film.
Well, depending on how they do it. I mean, we also saw the Resident Evil video game get rebooted, in a sense with, when they did 7 and, a much different feel, a lot darker. If they went with that and did
not the Umbrella Corps story.
Not the Umbrella. Like, you go with that really dark thing that we saw in 7 and
now with 8.
Yeah, like that feeling I think would be a good movie. That would make a good movie, I think.
Okay, so if they take a different, so they don't, well then it's not really a reboot, is it? See, they keep talking about a reboot of Resident Evil. A reboot would be retelling the Umbrella Corps story.
Well, no, I think a reboot is when you just take any franchise and you can tell a new story with it. You don't have to tell the original story. Or maybe call it a reimagining or whatever, but we're like basically pretending that those ones never existed and we're doing our own thing starting from this.
I think those are the only ones that I think would be good. I mean, there's other ones like why? Who asked for The Sims? Why would you want to create a movie about The Sims or even Tetris? You remember reading about that Tetris movie?
Yeah.
Are you serious right now?
They were naming off every board game. Like, they made a Battleship movie, stuff like that. I think that's when they did that. I mean, they did Pixels, which was basically Tetris, the movie.
Pixels was not Tetris the movie. Pixels was...
They were giant.
It was Pac-Man and Centipede, and it was...
Yeah. I'm saying it would
listen.
Would be just as, I'm saying Tetris would be just as bad if they made a movie out of that. It would be just as bad as Pixels.
Don't diss Pixels.
I will diss Pixels.
Pixels was hilarious, and I love Pixels. Don't diss Pixels, or this show is over.
Just like that. All right. I'm going to go through my list of things that I think would make some good stuff.
Oh, you actually have opinions?
I have opinions. Why can't I have opinions?
I guess.
Well, ones that you didn't mention, I will go. Carmen Sandiego, bring back the game show.
The game show?
You don't remember Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego? It was like a kids game show from back in the early 90s.
Not a game show. I loved the game. I loved the fact that the game always came with a book, and you needed the book to play the game. I loved that about the game. I actually want that. I want that game again. Where you actually have to look up answers. So
they've done. There was a game show called Where in the World. It was a kids game show on YTV or one of those things, where it was 3 kid contestants, and it was like a whole bunch of. Look it up on YouTube. You'll be. And they also did an animated series for Carmen Sandiego.
I remember the animated series, but I never saw the point of it, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird. Firewatch, I love the story in Firewatch. I don't know if it needs to be retold in a movie.
I think the same thing. That's why I skipped over it.
What else we got here? Just Cause is actually a really fun world that might make a nice movie.
So it'd be like a Rambo. Like a Commando / Rambo. You know what I mean? Like, that's all Just Cause would be.
Yeah, but with a grappling hook.
Okay, sure.
You're right. That might be fun. Metro 2033, based off of a series of books, again, would be very similar to Snowpiercer, depending on how it's told. Might be a fun one to take a look at.
I think that would be more along the lines of, again, a Walking Dead style story. Because that's more of survival horror.
It's more survival horror, yeah. So it might be along those lines. Rollercoaster Tycoon, again, as a game show. As a game show, like Lego Masters, where people have to build a roller coaster.
Okay.
And we get to watch that disaster.
Okay, I could get in on something like that, where they have to get roller coaster designers to compete. And I don't know what the competition would be, though. Like, I don't know. But I'd be in on that if they could develop it somehow.
Yeah. I mean, that would be fun.
I don't know what they'd be judging them on.
No, but we didn't know what they're going to be judging on for Lego Masters either, and we really both really enjoyed that. So
it's just such a great show.
Both Sleeping Dogs and Watch Dogs are the other two that I think might make for interesting universes for a TV series or a movie.
I don't know about Sleeping Dogs, but Watch Dogs, I guess a group of hackers trying to bring down the corporations. I guess maybe a film as opposed to a series.
Yeah.
I think a film might work for Watch Dogs more than a TV series.
Yeah, but TV series is basically Mr. Robot.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
So a film with that universe, and Sleeping Dogs, I really enjoyed that game. I think like an interesting Yakuza take on sort of a crime family thing would be fun.
Yeah.
Would be fun, Sean.
So speaking of crime families, I started watching on Netflix. It just launched this week. Warrior Nun. I think it just launched yesterday.
It did just launch yesterday, yes.
And Dorothy and I sat down and watched 5 out of 10 episodes yesterday. We started watching and we just didn't stop. And it was like 9 o'clock at night. I'm like, oh crap, we just watched half the series. It was so good. I'm really enjoying it. It feels sort of like a new version of Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yeah, I've watched the first episode so far, and I enjoyed it. I'm going to watch more. I didn't have the 5 hours to give to it yesterday, like you did apparently.
Yeah,
but
it was.
I'm going to watch more of this. It was fun.
Here's what I love about this, and I will not do spoilers, but here's what I love about it is the main character. They've really given time to the main character, so you understand who she is and what she's going through, and they don't just. It's not one of those stories where the main character is given all these abilities and they're like, okay, let's do this. Like, no, like she's like, I don't want any part of this, and they don't just resolve it in one episode. And it really, really tells the story of how someone would deal with all of a sudden being given all these abilities and being told you're like the chosen one, in most movies, like for example, say The Matrix, right? Hey, Neo, you're the chosen one. It's like, okay, go do everything. And I mean, it took him time to become it, but you know what I mean? Like it was sort of like an immediate acceptance.
Yeah, he didn't say like, I'm going to just hang out with my friends for a while. Right.
Whereas in Warrior Nun, they kind of, like, she's like resisting the whole, it's like, I don't want any part of this, leave me alone.
Yeah.
And they deal with that, and it's so well done. They've given that time to tell the story, and I really appreciate it, while also making it an intriguing story. You know what I mean? Like, how sometimes you can pan out the story and then it just gets boring because it's too much story. They've actually kept it very, very interesting. Every episode is, I just want to keep watching the next episode. Like, holy crap, was that another 40 minutes already? There was several episodes where I start watching and then it's like, wait, that's the end already? Nope, we're going to the next episode. I appreciate the whole 4 seconds until the next episode because I'm not waiting.
Yeah. It's I've enjoyed the first episode. I have to get into it more to sort of develop more of that story, but I've enjoyed what I've seen so far.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to watching the last 5 episodes. Maybe we'll watch it tonight. I started watching Fear the Walking Dead. It's a show that I've been wanting to, I wanted to catch up on all the Walking Dead films now, or shows now that I'm caught up on the main show. So I started watching Fear the Walking Dead. And, I start watching it, and this tells the story of the beginning of the apocalypse. This is when the very first death occurs, and the zombies start appearing, and people are like, what's going on? And they think it's still the person. They think maybe they can help. And here's the thing, though. Within, like, the first 3 episodes of the first series, the first season, which is only 6 episodes, almost the entire city collapses in the course of 3 episodes. And I'm thinking to myself, would it really happen that fast? And then I look at what's going on in the United States now with the coronavirus, and I'm thinking, yeah, I guess it would happen.
It wouldn't take 3 days.
But it is so hard not to watch this show and correlate it to what's going on in 2020.
Well, I mean, I saw a really interesting tweet. Like, like somebody tweeted out saying, "I apologize to all the filmmakers I've made fun of for zombie movies and stuff like that, saying this isn't possible. Because here we are in 2020. If there were a zombie apocalypse, there would people be out there picketing, demanding for their right to be bitten."
Oh yeah, yep. And that's and it's funny because
that's what it is.
That's one of the things in the show. It's like this show looked into 2020 and wrote about it, because I think it's episode 2 where there is, the cops, of course, are trying to take down the zombies, shooting this homeless guy that was turned, I guess because he died, and now he's a zombie, and they're shooting him. He doesn't go down, and then, of course, they shoot him in the head. Of course, people don't understand what's going on, so they're picketing the police. Huge protests against the police with riots and overturned cars. Does this sound familiar to you right now?
Yep.
you know?
It really does, and it is a very interesting take on seeing the beginning of that. Fear the Walking Dead takes place in Texas.
I believe it's Los Angeles.
Is it Southern California, or is it?
I think Texas? It's Los Angeles. I think it's Los Angeles.
Okay,
I think.
Yeah. So you're right. It's Los Angeles. Sorry, there. I don't want to do too many spoilers. They end up in Texas.
Spoiler alert.
Sorry.
No,
Listen,
I mean,
it's 5 seasons.
I don't know how many states have the original Walking Dead been in. I mean, they started in, where did they start? Washington?
Georgia.
No, they traveled to Georgia. Didn't they? Traveled to. Oh, maybe it did start in Georgia, and they went.
I think it's all in Atlanta. It's all like Atlanta, Georgia area.
Okay, you're right. You're right, because the first season they're trying to get to the CDC, which is in Atlanta. So
it's in Georgia, but not. Yeah.
Yeah, so they're trying to get to the CDC, which is the first season of The Walking Dead. But here's the thing. I also, before we move on, here's the thing I'm also thinking of. All of these events I'm watching in Fear the Walking Dead, I'm thinking to myself, hey, Rick Grimes is in the hospital right now. Because like the Walking Dead starts before the apocalypse. Rick Grimes gets shot. He's in a coma in the hospital and wakes up after everything's collapsed. So the events of Fear the Walking Dead are happening in that sort of like 1 year later scene in the first episode of The Walking Dead.
Yeah. Interesting. The character, I can't remember any of the names now, but the sister.
Yes.
She's this Fear the Walking Dead is the reason that she was killed off in the 100.
In the 100, yes. Yeah, Alicia Clark is her name in the show.
Yes.
Yes. So yeah, I know she was one of my favorite characters in the 100, so now I'm seeing her again in Fear the Walking Dead. But yeah, I know she left the 100 to do this show.
Yeah.
So
it's interesting because Fear the Walking Dead, the first season, really has very, very few likable characters.
I don't know if I agree with that. I actually like a few of the characters. I mean, they're flawed characters. They're all flawed characters. That's the whole point. What's interesting too is the brother, who's the drug addict at the beginning. I don't know how long it's been since you've watched it, but does he not look like a young Johnny Depp? Like he looks like a spitting image of Johnny Depp. I'm like, holy crap. He could be Johnny Depp's son. He looks so much like him.
Yeah.
But anyway, we've got like 2 minutes left, and I know you watched a movie, so tell us about the movie.
I did. So I watched on Netflix Eurovision, Eurovision Song Contest, Fire Saga. I can't remember the whole title. It's one of those long titles, but it is Will Ferrell's new comedy on Netflix. It is
with Rachel McAdams.
Yeah, Rachel McAdams and Will Ferrell,
which is not a duo I would have ever put together in a film.
It is not, and it is a very weird combination, but it works. Like she is so light and fun, and he plays his normal self, but
stupid.
It is such a fun movie. So the Eurovision Song Contest is a real thing that happens.
So this is based on a real competition.
Yeah, this is a real competition, and actually this competition, Pitch Perfect 2 was based off of this competition is too. So like that's this whole storyline of Pitch Perfect 2. Okay. They're going to a song contest in Copenhagen, and it's the same contest basically. They just didn't call it Eurovision then. Okay. So we watched this thing, and it is so weird. There are such weird bands. Each country submits a song
performed by somebody. ABBA got their start at the Eurovision contest.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, Celine Dion won for Switzerland in like 78 or
Celine
80,
Dion is Canadian.
She's Canadian. It actually says, because I watched the clip, and it's like Celine Dion from Canada singing this song, which is she sang a French song for Sweden.
What?
For Switzerland as a Canadian.
What? Well, because she's French Canadian.
Yeah. But it was such a weird thing. So we watched this whole thing, and it's different takes on some of the different people who have been in this. They play an ABBA type band from a small fishing town, and it is absolutely fantastic. Pierce Brosnan plays his father. and is great at it. It is just such a fun movie. It is very, very much like a Pitch Perfect type of film.
So if you like the Pitch Perfect series of films, you would enjoy this?
You would enjoy this. It is not your typical Will Ferrellness that you would expect, where it gets way out of control, but there's still some very funny bits. The singing and the song stuff is fantastic. But it got us on that rabbit hole, and we're watching like all of the old stuff and realizing after watching the movie, it's like, oh, that actually happened. Oh, there was actually like, there's a band in there where it's like a band that's all in like zombie makeup and stuff like that. And you're like, yo, these people are a little nuts. And then you find out it's like in 1989, a band named Lordi from Finland dressed fully in full demon outfits and zombie makeup and everything like that.
Wow.
And you're watching all of this stuff, and it's like so ridiculous, but these are things that actually happened. And it's like, well, I want more of this, and it is fun. And you can actually check out, they didn't have the contest this year because of the coronavirus, but all of the contestants submitted their music videos and stuff.
Okay.
And Sweden's entry from this year is it is a weird song, but it is so catchy. And I can't name the name of the thing because it has like the letters with the little accents all over them and stuff like that. So I can't pronounce what the name of the band is. But look up on YouTube, just click Eurovision Song Contest. And you will find a very fun rabbit hole to go down.
Interesting. Well, thank you for that.
Well,
and thank you, dear listeners and watchers, for viewing and listening to episode number 374. I don't know if we said what episode number it was at the beginning, but this has been 374 of the OMG Hour. Of course, you can follow the show on Twitter at the OMG Hour, and I am Ziantane everywhere, and that is XIANTAYNE.
And you can follow me on Twitter at Mr. Second Place, and our board game Instagram. You can check that out at Flipping Tables with OMG. We are getting very close to 600 followers on there.
Ooh, come on, follow us. Follow us. Okay, thanks everybody. We'll be back next week.
Bye, guys.
Hey, Chico, come on over here.
No.
Tell people what they should do.
It's weird because I'm further away from the camera, so I look so much smaller than you.
Tell people what they should do.
They should subscribe.
And make me
bigger than you.
And check out those videos over there. I think you'll like what you see. If you like this video, even if you didn't like this video, then go check out those other videos. Maybe you'll find something you do like.
Do it.
So
now.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you later. I think. I hope.
Maybe.